NFL Week 9 bets and predictions. I'm going to give you guys another free $10,000 winners. 8 NFL weeks so far, and 8 of them have been winners. And Week 9, we make it 9 for 9. Great lines, great games lined up. Chiefs, Bills, primetime game. We're going to cover that game in a bit. And ultimately, we're going to have another winning week, guys. Last week, Texans was my big play. The Hard Rock limited me to $7,500. I don't know why, but ultimately that was a big winner. We did lose with a 3-team teaser that day as well. Small profit Sunday. When it comes to Monday, we did lose with Commanders plus 14. So right now this week, week 9, we started negative. So it's a big, big Sunday for us to profit another NFL week. Now, let's get to the money, and before we start off with that, guys, let's talk about the long-term results. Transparency is key, especially for you guys that are new to the channel. I post all my results, right? We're going to talk about the last 30 days. October has been a little bit slow. We're down $5,000. Last 7 days, we have pushed up to $2,000. Last 12 weeks, still very profitable. $46,000 profited plus, and over the last 13, 14 weeks, we're nearing that $65,000 range. So ultimately, we're still very profitable. It's a long-term game. Invest, don't gamble, like my hat says, and we think like investors. Now, let's get to the money. If you guys are growing, learning, share the show with a couple buddies that like to sports bet. And remember, at the end of this video, I'm going to pick another person, another winner, to get a jersey of your choice. I do this every NFL video for you guys. All you got to do is like the video, comment below your 3 locks of the day, and share it with a couple buddies. That's all I ask for in return for this free value that I give you guys. Now let's talk about the most important part about football that nobody likes to talk about. It's not the quarterback, it's not the running back, it's not the wide receiver. It's the offensive line. If a team has a good offensive line, guess what? They win. And it correlates directly with the winning records in the season right now. Who's the best team right now? The Colts. Who's the best offensive line? The Colts. Who's the second best team? Debatable. Denver Broncos are definitely up there. Bills are up there. Chiefs are up there. We can all agree with that as well, right? Eagles. Now, we know the main teams. Patriots, Lions, Rams. Let's cover the top 10. Packers and Cardinals. Cardinals, a surprise there, and Murray's coming back this weekend. But I like to look at the bottom. And this helps me avoid teams that are not worth taking. And typically, again, it correlates directly with their records. Cleveland Browns, terrible team. Dolphins have been atrocious, to say the least, even though they won versus the Falcons. Everybody's hyped about it, but they forget that the Falcons were without their starting quarterback and without their best wide receiver. Bengals sitting 30th. New Orleans Saints sitting 29th when it comes to the offensive line. Las Vegas Raiders 28th. Chargers still sitting at 27th. They're still suffering with this offensive line. They got Joe Alt back, and then they had more injuries after that, which has been a little bit unlucky, but they've still been able to win games because of their QB. Herbert has been insane, to say the least. Houston Texans, what a game they played last week versus the 49ers. Everybody was on the 49ers, and that O-line looked a lot better. And this week, they might come back with Nico Hollins and Kirk, 2 of their best wide receivers. They've been playing without 2 of their best offensive weapons. Panthers sitting 25th, 24th, Vikings 23rd, the Jets 22nd, the Jaguars. Now, I like to look at the bottom, I like to look at the top, and I like to get an idea of exactly where these teams have moved up from last week or moved down. If you guys have been catching every single week, there's been some movements, and PFF is a great platform that tells you. For example, power rankings, Kansas City Chiefs, no change. They've been there for the last 2-3 weeks. Green Bay Packers moved up 2 spots after beating the Steelers on Sunday night. Great game. Lions moved down 1. Not the best game last week. Buffalo Bills up 1. I like to look at the power rankings. I like to see if there's any significant movement, and along with that too, it gives you information regarding injuries. Right now, the worst team, the Saints, Titans, Jets, Browns, Bengals. And be careful with the Saints. The Saints have a pretty steady defense, and they're adding this new quarterback that played last week. We took the Saints in a teaser, which terrible ending at that 4 p.m. game, but you saw some success from that kid. That kid's a lot better than Rattler, in my opinion, but it's going to be an interesting game. Now, this week, a lot of great games, and we have a $10,000 play, and we're going to have 2 total plays. 2 total plays, potentially 3. Now, this week, I'm not going to do a teaser. I'm going to leave the teasers alone for this weekend and potentially pick them up next week. Single plays have been doing a lot better, and we've got to adjust with the market and how the flow is going, right? You can't always continue doing the same thing. In this industry, to win, you got to be flexible, and you got to adjust, and you got to know when you're making mistakes and when something's not working so you can continue moving forward, and that's what we're doing, right? Again, 8 for 8 winning weeks with the NFL team. 8 for 8. If you guys have not grabbed your remainder of the year pass, it's on sale. Last few days, we're going to leave that up. After that, it's going to be month and week passes. Lock that in to guarantee every single play I throw out, and you don't miss any action. Now, let's get to game number 1. Game number 1, same game that I attacked last week. I don't love it as much as I loved it last week, but it's still one of those games that, number 1, smells fishy. The line is very telling, and along with that, too, we got some potential players for the team coming back. And I'm talking about Denver Broncos going to Houston to face the Texans. We saw what happened last week with the Texans. The 49ers don't have a bad defense, but they are a little bit depleted. They're very injured in that secondary, and offensively, they're injured as well. But they moved that ball well. The O-line protected Stroud pretty well. The running game was there, and the defense is what's been keeping them in that division, in that fight for that spot. And right now, Vegas made them at -1.5 again. Now, when you make your lines, and I make my lines for NFL every single weekend, and what I like to see is traps. I had Denver Broncos favored in this game at -1.5, -2. I didn't push it at the key number -3 because Houston is at home, and they just won a big game, so you got to respect them a little bit. Now, this line opened up in favor of Denver at -1.5, but it's quickly flipped to Houston, Texas at -1.5 in majority of the books, as you guys can see right here. DraftKings, Circa, South Point, Golden Nugget, Westgate, Win, Station, Caesars, BetMGM, and the Hard Rock, they have it at -1.5 as well right now. So that's a big movement, making a team from going underdog to favorite, big time movement. They're at home. Now let's dial in and see exactly why the case may be. Money and support. If Houston, Texas was attracting majority of the money, it would make sense why the line moved from -1.5 from Denver to -1.5 for Texans. But right now, money and support for the most part is going to the Denver Broncos, at least the bet side of things. 76% of the bets are going to them, 52% of the handle. On the money line, everybody and their mothers are going to love them at +110. You don't really see Denver Broncos as underdogs, especially facing what we call an inferior team that hasn't been playing too well other than last week. Now, the Texans are attracting sharp money. They're only attracting 24% of the bets, yet 48% of the handle of the money. Bigger players like myself bet thousands. Majority of the people bet 10, 20, $100. So bets is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the handle, and as long as I see a little gap there, I'm seeing sharper money go to them, and it's following the money. It's a reference that's used a lot in the stock market world, in the trading world. Same deal here. You're following the money in a sense. To make sense of what you're looking at, it makes sense if the line is moving in direction with what Vegas is looking for. So right now, for the most part, you are catching a bit of reverse line movements. Flipping from -1.5 Denver to -1.5 for Texans. It's a little bit of reverse line movement with only 24% of the bets. Now, I'm recording this on Thursday, October 30th. This game is in 3 days. On Sunday, November 2nd, a lot of money is going to flow in during the weekend. And I always say this, let's pay attention to it closer to game time. Get VSIN. Download Twitter. Follow John Ewing, Patrick Everson, BetMGM as well. They post the splits. You don't have to pay $20 to know the splits for these games. All you have to do is follow the right Twitter accounts, which I show you guys every single weekend. Now, let's talk about the stats for this game. First and foremost, strength of schedule benefits Houston by a mile. Denver has had the 25th toughest schedule compared to Houston at 8th. Right now, overall ranking rather even. Number 1 defense versus second defense, and offensively rather the same. And if Nico Collins comes back, I think this is going to be a little bit more even. EPA per run right now benefits the Broncos, and that running game has been excellent. But they're going to face a tough defense in this Houston Texans. EPA per run for Denver, -0.02 compared to -0.17 for Houston Texans. Where they're tied, for the most part, is in the EPA per pass. And again, if Nico Collins plays this game, it's going to be a different story. Now, what's the story with the Broncos? Surtain, one of their best cornerbacks, is officially out. He's not official, but it's doubtful. And I've really never seen a situation where I see doubtful on PFF and they end up playing. We still got to factor that in closer to game time, but they're also missing Locke. Their safety. These are 2 of their better defenders in this team that keeps them in the game. Texans might be coming out with Nico Collins, potentially, and Kirk might be coming back as well. 2 key pieces in that offense. They're losing pieces in the defense. Texans are adding pieces in their offense. This could be a big reason as to why the line has moved in favor of Texans in the spot. Now let's look at the stats that matter. And I'm going to look at home and away because Houston plays much better at home than they do away. And for the most part, if you see their away games, that's when they've struggled, except versus the Ravens when the Ravens were depleted. Seahawks, they lost. Jaguars, they lost. Rams, they lost. They have not done too well when it comes to playing away. At home, they're a different beast. Yards per game, 364 for Houston at home, compared for Denver at 298 away. When you look at the season stats, Houston's averaging almost 40 yards less in the season compared to when they do at home, and the importance of looking at these specific splits. When we look at the third down conversion and red zone scoring percentage, we have a split situation. Houston is converting third downs a little bit better. Now, this to me is a very big gap and a big alert, red alert here. Red zone scoring percentage touchdowns. You got Denver at 70%. 7 out of 10 times they're putting a touchdown when they get to the red zone. You look at Houston, that's 33.33. Complete opposite. 3 times out of 10 times they're scoring a touchdowns. Other than that, they're either losing the ball or shooting for 3. And ultimately, people and teams that score touchdowns win. Defensively, away, Denver also leads. In third down conversion and the opposition red zone scoring percentage, another huge gap. Houston's allowing 80%. 80%, meaning anytime an offense is in the red zone for Houston, they're scoring a touchdown 8 out of 10 times compared for Denver at 3 out of 10 times. And that to me is a big, big alert. Now, again, Houston still has a great defense. If they come back with Nico Collins, things can change. They do lead in the turnover margin both at home and away, split, and in the season by a good amount, right? So defensively, they are creating more turnovers. We saw that last week as well. But these red zone stats are a bit concerning when I'm looking at them. I do like the Texans in the spot. I want to see a little bit more out of this game. Injury report first and foremost, and I also want to see where the money and bets are going closer to game time for this game, and also to see if there's any changes in this injury, right? Right now, like I mentioned, for the Broncos, they got Lockett at questionable. If he plays, that changes things, and I believe the line will be rather more even than favoring the Houston Texans in that spot. So that's game number 1, lean Houston Texans. Game number 2, and one of my favorite games for this weekend. I love this spot, and it covers every sign that I look for. And for my New York fans, you're going to fucking love this, because it is the Giants that I'm looking at for this game number 2. But let's analyze it, break it down, and tell you why I potentially will take it, and why I won't if this potential thing happens. Now, this line opened up in favor of the 49ers at -3. Right now, in majority of the books, it's sitting at -2.5, as you guys can see right there. At the Hard Rock, it's sitting at -2.5 when I last checked. Now, before we start off with this analysis, we saw what happened last weekend with Scadaboo. One of their engines for the teams, what's really been making this team successful, Dart and him. That energy, that young energy, and this guy's relentless. Broke his ankle. I don't know exactly what he broke, but that guy's out for the season, potentially, right? Because he's a beast. You never know. He might come back. But this line still moved from -3 to -2.5, which to me was very telling. And it's a key number, right? -3. Right now, if the line's at -3, the 49ers win by 3 and it pushes. Now, -2.5, 49ers win by 3 at the end by a field goal. They win the game. 3, 7, key numbers you need to pay attention to, and I like to pay attention to 4 as well. But moving it from -3 to -2.5 is very telling. Now, let's see if there's any injuries. If there's anything that happened throughout these last few days that maybe caused this line movement, kind of like the Denver Broncos. To me, I thought the Denver Broncos was a little bit of a reverse line movement, a little bit of a weird movement, but when I saw the injuries, I understood, especially because they're not playing at home. Now, for this game, it's one of the most lopsided games of Week 9. Let's talk about the spread. 82% of the bets, 91% of the handle. Money line, 78% of the bet, 63% of the handle. Right now, everybody loves this 49ers to bounce back against the depleted Giants. Everybody thinks that Scadaboo is the biggest deal in this team, and I thought he is the engine, but nonetheless, they have a great backup. And they still have Dart, they still have a good offense, and their defense is still thriving, and they're at home. Now, let's break this game down. Strength of schedule benefits the Giants by a mile. 6th compared to 17th for the 49ers. When we look at defense, rather even. The 49ers do lead, but they are a little bit depleted. Offensively, 24th compared to 19th. Now remember the following. Dart came in week 4, week 5. Prior to that, their offense was terrible with Russell Wilson. Dart has given them that spark, and this is accounting for majority of the stats for the entire season. If it accounted for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I guarantee you offensively and defensively it would be a little bit more even. And offensively, the Giants would maybe have the lead. Maybe, or at least more even than we see right here. EPA per run, Giants lead. Minus 0.07 compared to minus 0.13. Scadaboo is out. Something to factor in. EPA per pass, dead even. 49ers depleted in that secondary. Giants now without Scadaboo, and they also have some questionable players that we want to pay attention to closer to game time. Now, this is the part I love because we already covered the line movement. It moved to a key number, -2.5 or -3. Money and support is all over the 49ers in this spot. So we're playing with Vegas in the spot, and we're also playing with the line movement. Now let's talk about it statistically, because that matters a lot. 49ers versus the Giants, stat split, and we're going to look at the home and away, and we'll cover the season as well for this matchup. Yards per game, you see it right away, 49ers lead. 344.2 compared to 299, and home and away splits. Season, same deal. They lead by a pretty good amount, right? When we look at offensive efficiency, third down conversions, rather even Giants lead on the third down conversion. When we look at red zone scoring percentage for touchdown, again, rather even 54.55, 56.25 lead to the 49ers in the spot, but not by much. Defensively, we have a similar situation. Giants lead in third down conversion, opposition red zone scoring percentage is a situation where it's even, but the 49ers still lead in turnover margin, leads for the Giants. Now, why do I love this spot? Because strength of schedule matters. The Giants have had the 6th toughest strength of schedule compared to the 49ers at 17th, we just saw. So to me in this spot, they're getting underplayed. They're at home. Scadaboo's a big deal, but Dart's been playing well. That defense is going to be motivated. So will that offense. They're at home in this spot. They're re-energized right now, this Giants team, this fan base. And statistically speaking, they're not far off the 49ers at all in the home and away splits. And they lead in half the categories. Turnover margin, Third down conversion offensively, defensively, and then the 49ers lead in the other three categories, and you're catching the team at plus 2.5. A great spot to take him on the money line. Will I take him on the money line? Probably not. Probably not. I still probably buy it to 3. Get that hook just in case. Play the safety game, play conservative, and pick up another W. Great spot for the Giants to persevere from this injury and continue this hot run that's been very fun for the entire league. Do not touch this game. If you're touching this game, you're gambling, plain and simple. You just want to be part of this because it's the best game of the weekend. Chiefs, Bills. I don't see an angle here. I really don't. I know right now the line is telling. Chiefs minus 1.5. Now minus 2.5 in Buffalo. That's as telling as it gets, right? And it opened up at minus 1.5. It's pushed up to minus 2.5. Money and support rather even. There's no lopsided action for the Chiefs by any means. 52% of the bets, 56% of the handle. On the money line, if anything, they're attracting sharper money. 41% of the bets and 62% of the handle in the spot for the Chiefs. Now, I don't like this game. I think there's better games on the board, and if you're fishing action and fishing emotion, you're going to take this game because there's no angle. And let's break it down really quick to see if you guys see an angle compared to the last 2 games that we just covered. A little bit scarier to take, less entertaining because they're not the best teams, but they're better games to bet on and invest on. Let's name it investment, right? Now, strength of schedule, Chiefs by a long shot. 32 teams, Bills have had the 31st easiest schedule, right? Strength of schedule for the Chiefs, 5th out of 32 teams. That's a very big gap. Defensively, Chiefs lead. The Bills defense has not looked good this season. Offensively, Chiefs lead as well in this spot. Now, when we look at EPA per run, Bills lead in this spot. EPA per pass, Chiefs lead in this spot. Right? Injuries right now, Smith, key player for this Chiefs team. Their guard, if he's not playing, that's going to be a very big deal. Pacheco, a big deal, but they also have good backs at the end of the day. And Simmons, another big player for this team. When we look at Simmons, Oliver is completely out for this game. Thompson, linebacker for this team, he needs to be playing, right? These questionables we want to pay attention to, specifically Thompson in the spot and Smith for the Chiefs. Now, let's transition to the stats. And we're going to look at home and away, right? And Bills are a dominant team at home. One of the better teams. If I'm not mistaken, they've lost like 1 or 2 games over the last 13 games at home. And Vegas is making them underdogs in the spot. Now, this has happened a couple times. And we're going to look at it. Maybe not a couple times, but a line that's telling based on the history in this head-to-head. Yards per game at home, Buffalo leads 394 to 376. Third down conversion, rather even. Kansas City does lead in this spot. Red zone scoring, which matters, rather even, but Buffalo leads. Defensively, Kansas City leads, and turnover margin, Kansas City leads as well. And they've also had a tougher schedule. So I understand why the line is favoring the Chiefs in this spot. Now, this is one of those games that's very emotional. Josh Allen is gonna have the game of his life. It's the biggest game of his career this season, at least. Not his career at all, but just the season. It's his biggest game so far. Now, let's pull this up really quick and look at the head-to-head. And look at the history of lines. I like to do that, especially for games that happen frequently. So, last time they played in Buffalo was a minus 2.5 favorite. They won. Last time they were in Buffalo as well, prior to that game that we just covered, Kansas City plus 2.5, and they won that game, right? Kansas City, last time they were favored in Kansas City, won by 1. They've been electric matches, right? But Kansas City has won in Buffalo and vice versa. Buffalo has won in Kansas City, and rather even, right? 5-5 over the last 4, 2-2, and they've both won in each home court. I like this game to watch. It's one of those games that you sit down, you watch, but if I have to give you guys a bet here, I'd roll with Buffalo here, guys. There's no lopsided action. They're home, and I believe this is going to be a game that's going to be a toss-up, and you're catching value at plus 105, plus 110 for the Buffalo Bills. Come on, that would be the play, but I don't like that game as much. The next game I'm going to cover is probably one of my favorite ones of the weekend. This is one of those games that to me is very interesting based on the line movement, how it started, how it's going, and where the money is, and statistically as well. Both these teams are coming off a bye week. And both these teams lost the last game they played prior to the bye week. And I'm talking about the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this line opened up in favor of the Jaguars on -3. And right now, it's creeping down to that -2.5 range in some books. As a matter of fact, the Hard Rock is one of those books. Money and support all over the Jaguars. 82% of the bets, 75% of the handle. Money line, very similar situation. 86% of the bets and 71% of the handle going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the line went from -3 to -2.5. Very similar movement that we just saw with the Niners. Exact same movement, right? They moved it from that key number 3 to 2.5. And they're also away teams that are favored in the spot. And that might be a reason why the line is moving a little bit. But ultimately, to open it at that and push it to 2.5 with money and support going to the Jaguars, that's pretty telling, guys. Strength of schedule, Jaguars. 4th compared to 13th for the Raiders. When we look at the defensive side of things, the Jaguars have been one of the better teams. Raiders have not. 22nd compared to 9th. When we look at offense, Jaguars lead as well. Not the best team offensively, but they have been getting better week by week compared to the Raiders that have been atrocious, to say the least. Raiders last game, let's talk about it, 31-0. Pete Carroll, one of his worst games as a coach. The team didn't even hit 100 yards in offense. Not the quarterback, the team. That's very rare to see. That's probably the worst performance I've ever seen. Chiefs dominated that game. Now they're going from a bye week. They prepared for this game. Jaguars, same deal. They got destroyed by the Rams in London. They couldn't convert on a 4th down, and they lost that game. Had plenty of chances, but that defense for the Rams is legit. Defensively right now, Lloyd, key player for this Jaguars team, questionable coming into this game. Strange is already out for this game, and you got some key questionable players in this team. When we look at the Raiders, Crosby being questionable, that's very, very big. And of course, Miller. Miller's actually graded higher than Crosby, and you guys know Crosby more than Miller, but Miller's the better player, and he is completely out for this game. Crosby is questionable coming into this game. Now, let's look at the stats that matter and see if there's an angle here to play with Vegas. If not, it's one of those games that you either stay away or you play with Las Vegas, or you just find a better game, which we've covered better games so far. And I'll cover which my favorite one is at the end of this video. Yards per game, Jacksonville leads. When we look at the offensive efficiency, Las Vegas leads in the 3rd down conversions by a good shot. Scoring rather even 40% for both these teams when they get to the red zone, meaning 4 out of 10 times they're putting up a touchdown. Defensively, though, team, at home, Las Vegas has been a beast. 35% of the 3rd down conversions have been completed, and 33.33% of red zone scoring percentage have been touchdowns when they're on the defensive end. And you see that stat for the Jaguars. Pay attention to it, 72.73, meaning every time a team gets to the red zone, they're allowing a touchdown 7 out of 10 times. Now, they do lead in the turnover margin by a pretty good long shot. To me, team, this is a play that you take Las Vegas. You can add it to a teaser. You get it at +3 and you call it a day. Is it my favorite play of the day? No, it is not. Now, let's get to the money. I'm going to give you guys my winner and a potential parlay. It's a bonus for you guys only that are watching to this point. So let's get to the money. Here comes the money. I love these games, guys. I told you the Giants was my favorite game of the day. I also told you guys a couple other ones. Bills, Chiefs, I'm not going to touch in that game at all. But I'm going to give you guys a little parlay / teaser. It's a teaser. Actually, it's a bonus one if you guys want to take it for you guys, and I give you guys a favorite plays. It's going to be the Giants. That's going to be one of them without a doubt. Texans is going to be added there as well. Raiders will be added there as well. 3-team teaser you get at 6.7 points, and you're getting that at plus money. Now, I have a big surprise for you guys. As I paid attention, the winner for last week did not message me for his jersey. So guess what? I'm going to pick 2 people here. Big winner, Big A684. I'm going to like it. Winner, brother, DM me on Instagram, and you'll get a jersey of your choice. Winner, DM me on IG. And hopefully you're watching this, so you know to message me at FredWins. Second one, Vikings think I'll lay the future. No, you're not going to do that? All right, cool. Sounds like a quality teaser. Love the Vikings pick, man. Fernando Mendoza, I liked it too, even though it lost. I'm going to give you a jersey. DM me, winner. So message me, same deal today, guys. Post 3 plays. The one that wins first are going to be the winners. As a matter of fact, that was what I said I was going to do. So that's a mistake on my end, and I'm sorry if I commented that you guys won. And I'm just going to leave this here to be a little bit vulnerable in front of you guys. I made a little mistake. So sorry, guys. You guys did not win. It's actually the people that picked the winner first. So New Orleans 4.5, Denver -3, Pittsburgh did not hit that at all. Colts, Chiefs, Falcons did not win. Indianapolis Colts -14.5, Cincinnati Bears, Kansas City Eagles, Pats did win. So you're one winner. And then the Falcons did not win. Texans money line did hit. Saints +4.5 did not hit. LSU did not hit. Damn, Bills, Patriots, and Colts. Well, that's a very easy one. Odo Bomb 21-48. But, bro, I didn't say anything about spreads. So, winner, DM me. And, again, apologies if I picked you as a winner. And I realized that the rules were that you had to pick 3 winners here, right? So, winner number 1, I just chose it. Winner number 2, who was it? Who was it? KC Eagles, Pats. John Jones, baby. DM me. DM me for your jersey. That's it for this week, guys. Let's make it another winning week. Share the show with a couple buddies that like the sports bet, that like NFL, that want to learn how to actually do this and not continue falling victim to Vegas' traps. That's what we do. That's how we grow. That's how we expand. Let's win the week, team. And I'll catch you guys for week 10.